In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a fire damper inspection report using Flow Mobile Surveying. This report template has been designed so you can input things like the drop test results, whether fire stopping is sealed and secure, and also things like however many access panels need fitting or have been fitted, and your remedial actions too. You can also enter information about the damper specifications and things like no access areas. So this is a template that I know saves our clients many hours of report writing, and hopefully it will for you too. Now before we get started, I just want to explain there's two parts to our software. There's the dashboard, which you can see here on the left hand side, and there's the mobile app, which you can see here on the right hand side. And the two parts of the software work together seamlessly. So a common question I get asked at this point in the demo is, will the app work offline? The answer is yes. The app is designed to work offline. It will just sync up automatically as soon as you get an internet connection. Before you go to site to carry out your survey, you'll need to create a job. This job is where your report will live. There are two ways to create a job. The first is what I'm about to show you now, which is to create a job in the dashboard. Alternatively, you can create a job on the mobile app if you need to. For example, if you're in the car and you get a call to say you need to do the job there and then. So let's go ahead and create our first job in the office using the dashboard. Firstly, press the Create Job button here. You'll be prompted for information about the client and the project. So if you're working with an existing client, simply start typing the name and select them from the drop down like so. If you're creating a new client, just start typing the name again, and when it's not recognized, it will prompt you to create the new client. The project is your internal job reference, so I'm going to say Paul 1 for this. I've got an address saved to my clipboard for where we're going to be doing the site work, so I'm going to pop that in here. Now you can see this has used its best guess to figure out where this is. You can also zoom in using the scroll bar and holding the control key on your keyboard to pinpoint this location. So I'm going to pinpoint this to this side of the building here. The map gets used for directions on the mobile app. Also, it will show on the report, so it is helpful to get this right if you know the exact location. Now I'm going to skip UPRNs, that's unique property reference number. Most people don't use this. The pipeline is the type of work that you're doing, so let's select the fire damper inspections pipeline. We'll cover pipelines more at the end of the demo. But for now, just think of it as the type of work you're doing, and this is going to dictate the stages that the job has to go through before it's considered complete. Now tags are a way to make the search more powerful. We'll come back to this at the end. You might create tags for things like urgent, for example, which would help you to find any urgent jobs later on. Another common one is the building type. Perhaps you'd have a tag for commercial, residential, and so on. So I'll pop that in. You create tags for whatever you want. Now the value is how much the job is worth to yourself. Only dashboard users will see this. I'm going to say it's £1,000. Notes are private notes for yourself on site. So you might want to say something like, keys in lockbox, code 12334. Next, it's time to schedule the job. So there are a few different ways you can do this. The first is simply to put in the date, like so. If you know the start time, you can put that in too. And if you know the end date and time, you can pop those in as well. So what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to make this a week-long job. Let's say it ends on the 28th. And we should see this in multiple places then on the app in a second. Once we've done this, we'll pare this back and make it a bit of a simpler job. So I'm going to assign this to myself, and I'll assign this to David as well. You'll only see jobs on the mobile app that have been assigned to you. So because I'm logged in as me here, and because I've assigned this job to myself, I should see the job pop up on the right hand side in a second. If I wasn't assigned to this job, I wouldn't see any changes on the mobile app. The mobile app gives me my schedule of work for the day, no one else's. Now the due date is when you expect to get the report to your client. I'm going to say the 29th, considering we said it was a week-long job. So as soon as we click save, the job should pop up on the right hand side. Brilliant. That job's synced now to the app. And because we schedule it for multiple days, you can see the same job is appearing on multiple days on the app here. So we've got the job continuing all the way to the Saturday, day 6 of 7. And if I go to next week's job, you can see we've got another occurrence of that on the Sunday as well. That's day 7 of 7. Now let's pair back the job so it's just a single date and time. I'm going to edit the job here. I'm going to remove the end date and time and click save. Now, as expected, the job's just appearing in one place now on the Monday. And we still got the time because we didn't remove that, so it's in 9 o'clock. I'll edit this again, remove the time, and this is now classed as what we call an all-day job. So if you care about the order in which you're going through jobs, put the time in because it will dictate the order on the app. If you're not really bothered about the order, just pop it in as an all-day event. That's absolutely fine. So let's imagine now we've gone to site. You'll use the mobile app to collect survey data on the site. The app is designed to work on iOS and Android devices, on phones and tablets. Now before we switch over to the mobile app, let's start popping some information in about this particular site and this report. So to do that, we're going to add a new report here. I'm going to select the fire damper maintenance template. And let's head over to the scope and site details section. And we'll put in some information about this job. So I'm going to put in some information about the scope. I'm going to say full survey of the building. I'm not going to fill the rest of these fields in. If you leave anything incomplete, it shouldn't make the survey report look incomplete in any way. It will just omit them from the report. So let's save this. And you can see there's now a tick on this section to let me know we've completed that. Now that we've scheduled up the job in the office and input some pre-survey data, let's head over to the mobile app and start collecting some data on site. So first of all, I'm going to press the View Job Notes button here. And there's the little message we left for ourselves in the office. So this is a really good way to relay information to your team. Next, let's drill into the job itself. And you can see we're presented with this screen. So because we assigned the job to the fire damper inspection pipeline, there are 3 stages to work through: site work, QC, which means your quality control checks, and then issued. We can customize this pipeline to match your process. So for example, if you wanted an invoiced stage, we can add that, and that can help you to track the progress of that stage. Alternatively, some clients like to have a risk assessment stage at the beginning, or maybe you'd have a schematics stage as well. So you tell us what your process is, we'll make sure the pipeline matches it. Now because we've started the site work, we can mark this stage as work in progress. You can see as soon as I change that on the app, it also synced to the dashboard, letting anyone in the office know that we've started that bit of the work. Next is you can press Get Directions, and that will open up Google Maps or Apple Maps. Alternatively, if you're using something like Waze for navigation, you can copy the address and then paste it into that navigation app. Let's now open up the report, and we can check the scope and site details. There's that little message about the scope that we created in the office. So we now know what we're doing. Brilliant. The first thing you're going to want to do on site is to take a photo of the building. This is going to form your cover page photo. So first of all, select this section here. Now normally you'd use the top option to open up the native camera on your phone or tablet. Because I'm using a simulator, I'm going to select one from the gallery instead. So here's the building that I'm working on. If you wanted to put a caption in, you could too. This would appear just below the image on the cover photo. Next, click Save. That section's ticked off to let us know that's complete. Let's head on to the inspection section now. This is where you're going to spend most of your time on site. So first of all, let's add a new item. I'm going to say we're in the main building. The level is going to be -1 because we're in the basement. These little magnifying glasses are giving you some hints. You're not limited to these, they're just suggestions, but they can be really helpful. So for the location, we're going to give you the room number, and then you'll want to put in the name of the location. So I'm going to say basement. By putting the room number in, that's going to help you to mark these locations up on your schematics. For the location photo, let's take a photo of where we found the fire damper. The fire damper ID number goes here. And then we can pop in the type. Again, these are just suggestions. You're not limited to these. Just pop that in. If you've got full, limited or no access, you can select that here. Since we have full access, I'm just going to select that here. We don't require any access panels and none have been fitted, so let's leave that blank. And then we've got some information about the duct. So I'm not going to put this in now, you get the idea. But you can see you are able to put in some information about the duct profile, whether it's square or round, information about the damper, manufacturer, and so on. This can be really helpful for things like remedial actions. So I'm going to pop in the system type. I'm going to say yes, the damper was independently supported. And we'll say it's built into the wall. The fire stopping is sealed and secure. And now it's time to do our drop tests. So take a photo for the initial state, the drop state, and the reset state here. So we can see the drop test was satisfactory and we don't have any comments. Please note there are some additional photos you can add here. So for example, if there was an obstruction or something like that, something you wanted to note for the remedial actions later on, you can put those photos in here. So I've clicked save. There's our first item added in the basement. Now let's imagine we've gone from the basement to the ground floor and we've seen an almost identical fire damper. We wouldn't want to have to enter that same information from scratch again, would we? So what we can do in this case is to actually make a copy of a previous item. To do that, swipe to the right, select the fields you want to copy over from that initial item. So I'm going to say it's all fields. We don't copy the images by default when you do a copy. That's just save you from accidentally copying the old images and forgetting to change them. But it's going to be a different level, a different location, and the drop test, we're going to put those results in again. So I'm going to untick that one. As soon as I press continue, it pulls for that information from the first item. Then we need to put in the remaining information. So I'm going to say this time we're on the ground floor, level 0. The location is going to be 002 this time. Please note that it has remembered the previous value of 001 basement. So we know therefore the next location is going to be 002. I'm going to call this one hallway. For the location photo, let's take a new image of the location. This time the fire damper ID is going to be FTO2. I'm going to scroll ahead now to put in some information about the damper test results. So let's imagine that the initial state was fine. The drop test worked, but the reset didn't. So I'm going to put in the same photo for the reset as the initial drop test one. So the drop test wasn't satisfactory. And for the comments, I might say something like damper failed to reset. The remedial action could be to replace the fire damper. So I'm going to pop in replace and click save. So that was a lot quicker because we used that copy feature, and you can just continue on in the same way building up your survey. I'm going to do one more item in the ground floor. I'm going to use a different shortcut here. So I'm going to say add item here. So that pre-fills the building and the level. Actually, we will use the hallway again, so I'll select that one. I'm going to use that same location photo as before. And I'm going to say this is FD03. Let's pop in the type of damper. And I'm going to say this one's limited access, because we need some special equipment. We do require some access panels, so I'll pop some information in about that. Next, we can say the damper is independently supported. So I'm just going to select something here. The fire stopping wasn't sealed and secure, or let's say actually not tested, because we need that third-party equipment. So let's imagine we can't actually get to this fire damper. It's too far out of reach. We might be able to take the initial state photo, but then not actually proceed with the drop test itself. So I'm going to select this image here. This is my initial state. For the drop test, I'll leave that blank because we weren't able to complete that. Same for the reset. So the drop test was not tested in this particular case. The remedial action could just be that we need that third-party access equipment. So Let's pop in that. I'm going to say access equipment needed and retest damper. Click save. So there's a few items added. We had one pass, one fail, and one not tested damper. You can see the drop test result is indicated here on the items. So this one was a pass, this one was a fail, and this one was not tested. So next, we can mark the site work as complete. And if there were any attachments that you wanted to add, for example, schematic sketches, you could also do that here. This particular template doesn't have a rough sketch field currently, but that's something we can easily add if that's part of your process. So the final image is what appears on the report, but we can easily add a rough sketch field too, which is something that you just draw up quickly on site. So let's head back over to the dashboard and we can take a little look at this report. Before downloading the PDF to send to your client, you'll have a chance to preview the report and check everything over. We provide a live report preview, which will flag up any data errors before you issue the report. Let's take a peek at how the report preview looks now. To do that, select Layout from the drop down here. You can see we provide a few different layouts. These take the same information and present it in a slightly different way. The one I'm interested in is this one here. Now press the View Report button and this will open up the preview. I'm going to full screen the window at this point. You can see here it's saying the report isn't ready. We've got this cover page photo that we took. It's telling us the type of survey that we did, where it took place, when it took place, and this is our internal job reference here. You can also see we have some light cover page branding here. All of our reports come with this standard cover page, but we want your reports to be the best looking reports in the industry, so we also offer a custom cover page design service. Our design partner will work alongside you to create a unique cover page based on your company's branding, logo, website, and so on. Here are some examples of cover pages we've created for our clients. And you can see these are all different and unique to the individual companies. This is what you'll end up with if you work with our design partner. So let's head back to the preview and scroll down a bit further. You can see there's some errors here. We'll resolve them in a second. This is just saying that there's some information missing from the report. Next is the table of contents. This will grow and shrink depending on the information you have within the report. Now we have the report details. This gets pulled through from the job when you first set up. So we can see who the client is, the project, the site address, and so on. This is that marker position that we dragged over, if you remember at the start of the demo. It's also telling us who was on site, when they were on site, and the current status of the report. Scrolling ahead, you can see we have some basic information here, some summaries. Now, we can customize these reports in any way you want. This is just part of our default template. So for example, if you wanted your own default introduction, we can hard code that onto this layout. There's also the opportunity to put in dynamic elements if you want to put your own introduction in from one survey to the next. You tell us what you want and we'll get as close as possible to the desired outcome. One thing we do like to do on our default fire damper report is to show the system totals front and center. So this is saying how many dampers you've tested, how many were not tested, and the remedial actions that occurred as well. The remedial actions are shown here. So we have one damper that's to be replaced by a specialist contractor and one damper where access equipment is needed. Now, because this is a live preview, any more changes that are made on the app or the dashboard will instantly reflect here as well. So for example, if I go into the fire damper 1, which didn't have any remedial actions, and we add this one now, and let's click save, you can see that's updated the preview, so there are now 2 with the same remedial action. Like I say, it's a live preview, so you will see any changes instantly on this preview. Scrolling ahead, you can see we have one access panel that's required. Now your process could be to do a pass of the building, figure out which dampers and remedial actions are required, and then do another pass of the building once you've fitted those access panels and change the access panel status from required to fitted. So that could be something that you do. Next is we've got the asset register. This is everything you've looked at alongside the status. So with this particular template, it's not pass fail because, it's not always that black and white. Instead, we have a yes no result for the damper test and a yes no result for the fire stopping. So here you can see the drop test was satisfactory, the fire stopping was sealed and secure. In this case, the drop test failed, but the fire stopping was sealed and secure. And in this case, neither was tested because of the access issues that we had. You'll notice as well that the view buttons here are actually clickable. So if you click on this, it will take you straight to the item itself, along with any specifications about this damper and the ductwork and any photographs that we took. Another thing to note is the thumbnail images are actually clickable. So if you click on this on the preview, it will open up the full high-res image and you can zoom in and get a lot of extra detail. And we can see here, this is actually fire damper 2, so you might want to make an amendment there. Scrolling ahead, you can see this is the one that was a failed drop test. And then this one was the one that was not tested. And we didn't have the dropped and reset images for that one. It's worth noting we don't currently have any schematics here. So there's nothing shown in the appendix. If we go ahead and add one now, then we'll see how that appears. So I'm just going to add it for the app because I've got an image here that I can use. And I'm going to select this image here and click Save. Now I'm going to jump into that report preview again. And we'll see we've got this new section, Appendices, with the schematic that's been embedded within the report here. So let's go back and now resolve some of those errors. First one is saying we're missing a QC date, and the second one is saying we're missing the issue date. To resolve those, head back over to the dashboard, open up the QC and approval section, and just pop in these dates. So I'm going to say we QC'd it today, and we also issued this today. If you had some general recommendations, you could put those here too. For example, you might want to suggest that they get another reinspection of this building in a year's time. So you could say reinspect the full building in 1 year. Now save this item, head back over to the preview, and we can see, first of all, that big warning message has disappeared. And now we also have no errors on this page. So this report is ready to issue to your client at this point. You just want to give this a once over, check that you're happy with it, and then finally, the last thing to do is to press this download PDF button here. Let's go ahead and do that. And you can see we do make a few changes here from the preview. So let's take a look at those now. The first thing you'll notice, and I'll zoom in a bit so you can see better, is that we have the headers now. All of those view buttons have now changed to page numbers. And we've also got the footers here too, which has the page number in the bottom right hand corner. It's worth noting as well that those page numbers are actually clickable. So if I click on this one here, it'll take me to the relevant page. You can also click the asset register button to jump back up like this and back down again as you're checking out the individual assets. And this is something your client could do to save themselves from scrolling backwards and forwards all the time. One final thing I'd like to mention is even on the PDF, your clients can actually click on these images and it will open up a website now. I'm no longer on the PDF, I'm on a website, and they can zoom right in, get that extra detail. So let's close this down. Now I'm going to mark off the QC stage as complete. I'll leave the issued stage as incomplete for the time being because I want to show you something in a second. Up till now, we've mostly focused on the mobile app and the types of tasks you'd want to carry out as a surveyor. We've also looked at how to create the report and issue it to your clients. But what about the admin tasks? How do you manage your jobs and your day-to-day work? Let's head back over to the main jobs list and I'll walk you through some of those back office features now. Now, we didn't talk about this too much at the start of the demo, but this main jobs list shows all of your incomplete jobs. In other words, where one or more of those pipeline stages is still yet to be done. So for example, here you can see it's the last stage that's incomplete, whereas on this job here, it's the last two. Once all of the pipeline stages have been marked as complete, the job will be considered a completed job and it will be shown in this screen here. So it's still there, it's just out of the way. As I say, the default view is to show any incomplete jobs, things you're currently working on. You can filter this jobs list in lots of different ways. So I could say, show me all the fire damper inspections. This has expanded out the different pipeline stages so we can see a little bit better. But we might want to go one step further and say, show me all the jobs awaiting site work. In other words, the first stage isn't complete. If I say awaiting QC, the first stage is complete, the subsequent ones aren't. And if I now say awaiting issued, this is going to include the job we've just created for Paul Blogs because we didn't mark off that last stage as complete, if you remember. You'll also notice that the tags that we added to the job, urgent and commercial, are shown here as well. And we'll come on to what that means now. So let's imagine we want to find all of the jobs that are commercial jobs. I'm just going to type in commercial here. And you can see that much longer list has now been filtered to this short one, which all have that commercial tag. If I was to say, show me all of the urgent jobs, which are also commercial jobs, then they must have both labels in order to meet this search criteria. I can chain additional search queries on here, so I could say for David King, and now we're looking at both jobs that have the urgent, commercial tag and also are assigned to David King. So the search is really powerful. You can use this a lot and you can keep chaining search queries on in this way. Now let's imagine we've got a client on the phone, Northumbria University. We can start typing their name in the search box here. And you can see here it's identified these jobs based on the name. What you'll notice is that we've actually got a typo here. So I've said Northumbria instead of Northumbria, and it still managed to pick up these jobs. So we use advanced typo tolerance when you do your searching. Now, one final thing I'd like to look at is reinspections. Our clients love us when they sign up to Flow Mobile Surveying and they realize how much time it saves them. But they love us even more in a year's time when they come to do the reinspections. By copying a previous report you created a year ago, you can save yourself a lot of time when it comes to data entry. So we'll start by finding a job that needs a reinspection, and then we'll copy it for the reinspection itself. So first of all, let's identify a job that needs a reinspection. I'm going to find the one we worked on today, and I'm going to use the project reference, which, if you remember, was Paul 1. So this is the one here that we've just worked on today. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to make a copy, and this report now gets added to my clipboard. As you can see here, if we open this up, we've now got this report here in the clipboard. I'm now going to navigate to another job. In reality, you would have created a brand new job for the reinspection. In my case, I'm just going to jump into a random one here. I'm going to open up the clipboard and I'm going to say copy here. So you're prompted as to which fields you'd like to copy over. I'm going to say it's going to be everything, including the location photos. We want to keep those just for the time being. We want to keep information about the fire damper IDs and so on. I'm going to untick access panels because we're not sure what the requirements are there now. And I'm also going to untick these damper results as well because they may have changed. Also, the comments and the remedial actions I want to remove too. I'm going to press confirm. And what this does is it leaves the original report completely untouched, but it creates a brand new clone, as you can see here. It's also marked up the different sections for review where there was data. So you can see these little red highlights are telling us there's something to check over here. Once you've done that and you've checked this over, you just press save and that highlighting disappears. Similarly, for the inspections, we had 3 items. They've all been highlighted in red. And that's just saying, again, you need to check these over and make sure that they're fine. But what we have done is we've saved ourselves a lot of time actually re-entering this information from scratch. So by copying the old one, we've saved ourselves entering the location information from scratch, and also to some extent, information about the dampers and so on. So you can now work your way through these items, saving as you go, whether it's on the app or the dashboard, it doesn't really matter. As soon as you save this, that highlighting will disappear. And also, by the way, you can manually re-highlight these for review as well if you want to make sure that your guys on site do check these things over and resave them. We'll just untick those for now. Now when it comes time to actually create the report, it's the same as before. You select a layout from the drop down and this will determine how the report itself looks. So because we removed the images, they're no longer shown, but you can see we've got the address here, some information about what's required, that the report preview always keeps you right and tells you if there's any issues. But we have, like I say, saved a lot of time because all of this location information is there, and you can now rock up on site with 90% of the work already done and just fill in information about the tests themselves. So that brings us to the end of this demo. In the demo, I showed you how to schedule up a job, collect some data on site using the mobile app, and then create a fire damper inspection report that you can send to your clients. Our mission is to make it as quick and easy as possible for you to create these reports. They can be very time consuming creating by hand. And we have lots of clients in your industry who are doing this right now. So if you're a Flow Mobile Surveying client, I hope this was an interesting reminder of how you create a report. If you're not a client and you are interested in our software, please get in touch and we'll be happy to set you up with an account for you to play around with and see if it's a good fit for your business. So thanks for watching. Hope you're having a good day. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.